I did
one
the
more.
And then you guys can ask me any questions, and then I'll turn it over to Chris. And then the second half, but if we get done early, we get done early. The second half will be the middle. So on the A&P, I put a little helpful website on here that you guys might want to go to, the www.arc.org for the local taxes. And you can download the same data that you're looking at here in this, only for every single month, which is what I did, is go through the mine. Then this is in order, the estimate based off the 2016 9 months annualized is the second page. And then right after that is the 2015 numbers that I've previously given you guys. And then I just wanted to point out that the NAICS codes, there's only one having to do with accommodation or hotels, and then there's 4 of them that have to do with food services. And then just for your own personal knowledge, with all the issues we have, going on with sales tax right now, I went ahead and did a real rough calculation of the top 10 codes for sales tax, and I wanted to draw your attention to that list. And then I did a sample full listing at the very back of all of our NAICS or ICS codes. So the first page, if you look over down at the bottom, this all up here is just in order. Oh, sorry. It's just January through September of what we pulled in for 2016 by those codes, and then adding those up and doing the 3%. And it's a little bit higher than it was in 2015 for the 2015 estimate. And I kind of still need to look into that because that kind of surprised me since the rest of our codes went down. But it would be roughly, approximate, about 1.5 million. It was 1.399 when I ran it on the 2015 numbers. So then the original 2015 numbers are the next 2 pages over, so you can kind of do a comparison and ask any questions you guys might have if you look into the numbers, because I didn't pull out for audits or rebates, so it'll be down by that amount. And then that next page, this one that looks like this, is the top 10 categories that I was talking about. And I just thought you guys might find that interesting.
What's a limited service taking place? Like a quick stop or something?
Yep. And
Chester's Chicken.
Where does, somebody
I
asked
like
me a
this
question
one.
today, I couldn't answer.
Look at you looking there, do you?
Where does sales tax on automobiles come in at?
sales tax on automobiles.
Is it the same rate as everything else? And
Well-
is it based on where you live? So if somebody lives in Brighton, they buy a car in
Yes.
Little Rock, does the sales tax come here?
It's
where you register.
point of delivery for where you
Yeah.
live, I think.
Okay, so
on
all
the
cars purchased
So,
by people who live in the city of Brighton is the only sales tax on cars that we are receiving, automobiles.
Now, if you get doing that, ever, as many as they're selling internet, not better than what.
I was asked that question, I couldn't answer it today, so.
Depends
And
on the
there's-
offices.
like, I know that this isn't the one that they're using because it's way too of a small amount, but on the codes, there is an automobile dealers 4411. At the this back page that has the list of all the sample ones.
Yeah, I looked at
But
it.
there's multiple, it's the same thing for when I try to calculate our wastewater. There's like 4 or 5 wastewater codes. And you can't tell, it's not very clear, and I'm sure you guys have heard me complain about that before, because it makes it very difficult if you have changes or anything to know what caused those changes, because this is the extent of the information you get out of the state.
So if I buy a car in Fayetteville, the sales tax doesn't say up there, it comes back to Brian?
I think so, yes. That's my understanding on cars, and I've heard that before.
Isn't that a way on furniture also?
Well, on everything, it's point of delivery too.
Arkansas point of destination state on taxation.
Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Because the tax is supposed to be collected when you sell the car or when you register it, and it's registered based on where your home address
Oh,
is.
yeah, because you don't pay that. Okay.
Mhm. So, tricky.
If you don't register, you don't pay.
So that's all I've got on A&P. Do you guys have any other questions? I mean, it's really just an update to what I've given you guys in the past. in terms of pulling it for current numbers.
Yeah, let me add, and I guess we've really not had really a discussion with everybody about A&P at one time, have we?
No.
So, all right, let me, and I'm gonna ask some basic country boy questions here. We're looking at doing this, or we've discussed two different ways, hotels and on food, correct? Now, from what I remember, if we do it on hotels, your thoughts are, it's not worth it. How,
That's just my personal opinion.
and that's what I want to know is, how much
I can pull that out for you. and
how
send
much
to you
will it
guys.
create if we do hotels only?
Okay, it's easy for me to pull that out and send it to you guys, but I have to do it tomorrow because I've just got to go into the
Okay.
spreadsheet and pull it out. So you want to look at it. I
Well-
did that before, and
The hotels only winds up being about 12,000 a month for the parks and 3,000 for the other advertising and promotions, up to 25,000.
Is it
Where we
earmarked?
talked about doing it.
Is it, oh, this is what we talked, okay. But everything's not earmarked if we agree to do it,
I don't know.
Sorry?
right? I mean, we
No.
leave, okay.
We hadn't earmarked it, I mean, we were
Okay.
putting it towards, you know, we discussed putting it towards parks, maintenance, and upkeep.
That's right.
And here's,
75% and 25% towards advertising and promotion up to 25,000, and it goes back over. But she's got an expense that's not included in that, and collect, yes,
administration.
administration.
So if we go that path, I don't know if this
That's
is you
just
or Chris
tax.
or who, if we go that path where we say the park 75, whatever, 25%, do we approve that or does the public approve that, first of all?
That's actually a very good question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was looking at that today.
I got another one that's good at that.
I gotta look into this some more, but my review of it today is if council approves the A&P tax, they set the amount, and all the money goes to the commission, and the commission determines how it's gonna divvy up the money. I'm not sure if the governing ordinance can say you have to divvy it up this way or not, unless it's pledged to a bond.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because there's another section that talks about how revenues are spent that says it can be used for park maintenance if the electorate approves that in the vote that's approved by them. So it sounds like there's two ways you can create an A&P commission. One is by council action. You create the commission, then the commission controls the money. Alternatively, the vote of the people can do it, but the ordinance, the vote that they do can divvy up the funds. I'm not 100% sure on that, but Joy and I were talking about that at like 4:30 this afternoon as I was reading through the statute. And it was giving me some pause on it. I mean, I'll be happy to look at it more and if that's
I
where we're
read something just about like that too, but, and to further ask that question, if we do it by a public, if it's approved by vote of the electorate,
Mhm.
or whatever that word is you just used.
Yeah, the electorate.
Yeah, the voters that are paying the tax. If they approve it, does it have to stay that way until they change it?
I believe so. Basic, and it would be the same way, I think, I haven't looked at all the case law, on it, is when the council can cause the tax to occur, but then the administration of it goes to the commission, the A&P commission. If the voters do it, they can divvy it up, and what happens is the money that's dedicated to parks does not go to the A&P, it goes to city council. But the commission would still govern what amount was given to the A&P commission. So if the vote of the people was 50-50 or 75-25, and the people approved that, then 75% of the collections could go to parks, and 25% could go to the commission to do with what they want to.
And if we ever wanted to change that, we'd have to do another public vote.
I would think so. Generally, when you create something by public vote, you're doing those changes. But I can't give you a 100% answer on that, but that would be my best guess sitting here without reading it.
And the commission, you might want to run through for them who the commission would be made up of, because
There's
it
a seven,
specifies.
it has to be a 7-board commission, 4 from the industry, which would be hotel and restaurant, one at large, if I remember correctly, and then 2 would be from council.
We had started one when I was in Forest City, and we called it the hamburger tax.
Yeah.
It's a little more digestible that way.
Yeah.
Can I quote that?
Yeah.
But there were some of these issues that we dealt with when that happened too over there.
So that's, and, you know, I've looked at it peripherally, but I haven't really dug into it. And when I was reading it today, it gave me pause, because the one talks about the governing body by ordinance can pass the tax. Commission controls the monies, because once you create it, then they get to do what they want to with it. Alternatively, because it talks about how the revenues are spent, there's 3 paragraphs. If it's created by the governing body, then the commission determines. If it's created by the electorate, then they can divvy it up, and then that portion that's signed for parks never goes to the commission. So,
I want to say this, and this is, I've, you know, we've all kind of talked here and there about this, and the longer that I've thought about this, the more maybe I've kind of changed my position from where maybe it was, and this is why. I've looked at our sales taxes down, and we're gonna impose an advertising and promotion tax. If we're gonna do that, then with our sales tax revenue down, I think that money needs to go to economic development, because that's truly what that A&P is for. It's for advertising and promotion. Not saying we wouldn't get some advertising and promotion through parks. We would. But I personally think that if we have the biggest piece of the pie going to parks instead of what it's actually intended to be, that I as a just a citizen, or I would have a lot easier time dealing with this if we were in fact using the tax, and I hate to say that word, but that's what it is, for what it's actually created for.
Most cities use their A&P tax to promote the parks
Okay.
and to run the parks system for their maintenance and stuff.
Okay, but that doesn't mean they all have to do that.
No.
Okay.
It also means the promotion part, though, for the promotion parts of it can go anywhere. That's just for promoting the activities of the city.
Right.
It doesn't have to be park special, specific.
And let me ask this, since I'm kind of doing a lot of the talking here. Help me here if you can. Let's say that I take my family down to Luigi's and we got a $30 bill, okay? We're paying, is it 9.5%? Then we're paying the alcohol tax. And then we're gonna pay an A&P. Is that correct?
If you have alcohol.
Okay, yeah. And like you
saying.
don't.
I just wanted to make sure that you were.
Well,
if you get water, you
If
don't
you
get
get
alcohol.
water, you don't have to pay tax.
okay. Well, I'm gonna probably get a pitcher of beer. And I guess my question
We'll
is,
tax them for the water that he sells.
how much, if we pass this on food, how much would that bill go up?
You don't have to pass 3% on the bill.
Well, I don't know, I didn't know that we've really discussed the percentage at all, have we?
If you had a 3%, if you had a 3% A&P tax and you have a 9.5 cent sales tax, you're gonna pay 12.5 cents
That just, I mean.
for your food. Now, your alcohol would be separate,
That would be,
But you
because you
don't,
have an alcohol tax on that too.
you don't have to do that. You can charge 3% on the hotels, and you can just charge 1 or 1.5 or whatever you want to on the
Right.
food. That's what everybody else does. Nobody charges the same all the way across the board.
And
Right.
break that down even further, it's 6.5 cents. It's to the state, 3 cents to the city of Bryant.
Yeah.
There is no county tax. So when we talk about 9.5%,
Yeah, but,
6.5% is obligated to the state, so 3 3 cents of the
Yeah, but I
dollar.
think the normal guy that goes out there to eat doesn't realize of
Understand.
that
I'm just telling
9%.
you, I'm just breaking that down even
Right,
further
yeah.
so that you
So
understand.
it's what I'm
it's
just
9.5.
kind of saying is,
You're already paying one every time you eat in Benton.
That's what I was just gonna say.
And
Do
every time you go to
notice-
Little Rock,
I know
you're paying
that,
it.
and I understand that, but just because other places do it,
I think Benton has it.
why do we have to do it?
You pay
That's
it.
my question.
Well, I'm not saying we have to do that.
No,
but
and,
That's
You know,
on the
if we're
food.
surrounded on all
You pay a penny and a half
sides-
on food in Benton.
It's almost kind of common sense, though, that we probably should. Because there's a very good chance that when you're selecting your restaurant, that you're not saying, I'm not going to Benton, because, so you're giving your tax dollars to Benton.
I know,
And more than what you're giving
I
to
agree.
Bryant.
And I would be,
In
you
either
know,
side.
I don't think I'd have any problem doing this on hotels only. I mean, that's a no-brainer, because the people here are not gonna pay for it.
Mhm.
But is it gonna generate enough to make a difference for anything is,
Yeah,
The question.
I'll have to go back and run the numbers, but I do remember, I think Butch is right, that it was somewhere,
and
It
we
seemed like it was
could,
about $15,000 a month.
yeah.
That's
12
correct.
to 15 is the
Yeah.
number that I.
Yeah, it was 12, if we did the 75, 25, it's gonna be 12 and 30, it was 15,000.
It seems like the number.
That was based on last year's numbers.
so if we took that, if we got $15,000 a month, and however we divvied it up between parks or economic development or whatever, I know, say it was 5 and 10 or whatever, that's not a lot of money probably, but
A lot more than nothing.
that's what I was gonna
But-
say, how far could we promote the city of Bryant with $10,000 a month?
But, you know, something else to consider is like what Rob said, if, once you do this and you've taken it to the vote, everybody that I talked to when I did my phone calls the first time said, whatever you do, ask for whatever you want
On
the
the
first
front,
time.
I
you do it.
agree.
And so, you know, I'd hate for us to go and just do hotels and then we're stuck with just hotels from now until, you know, the end of time.
Right.
And when we really wanted
At
restaurants.
least 1%.
Mhm. That's what I was thinking was, you know, at least do some percentage, because that might be easier to go up from somewhere than impose, you know,
Yeah,
just nothing.
yeah.
The thing is taking care of the parks. We just passed money to build all, and finish out the parks and build a new one and raise what we're doing in Mills Park and make everything bigger and better. Well, we've done that in the past. Ashley Park used to be like that. You see what it looks like now because we don't have the money to take care of it. Because almost all our tax is based on sales tax. And it's up in 1 month and down the next instead of putting it on millage like everybody else does. And it's a solid baseline.
And I'm not,
But
you
I'm
know, I'm
still-
not
we need
against
money.
parks at all. I think we've got two issues. We've got the fact that our parks need some help and the city itself needs some help. And do we help ourselves first?
Well,
Being-
there's actually a lot of places though where you'd be helping both at the same time. If you had an A&P commission that does one of those little handouts that has all the local businesses and the local restaurants, and they passed them out at every baseball tournament, you know, we're the only place, you know, that I've been that doesn't have one of those. I don't know why we don't, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, what's the difference? Okay, never mind.
So you-
I was about to
so say-
say something, but I'm not gonna say it.
well, I'm just saying
Because it's
because,
different.
you know, it would both be good for parks and good for advertising and promotion.
And the
So-
way it'd be different from a chamber of commerce is the merchants are just merchants, they're not chamber members.
Yeah, or, you know, down here.
All of them are automatically,
Yeah, they'd all be,
and they're getting some value out of it by saying whatever this brochure is what you're paying for.
You know, you made a comment, Joy, that you said that if we're surrounded by, I think you said all four corners, I don't remember exact terminology you used, it makes sense that possibly we should do that. But my first question is, from an economic development standpoint, would people look more favorably by locating in Bryant if we didn't have that tax? Especially if it's right on the border of a city that did and did not.
They don't pay it.
I understand they don't pay it, but
I-
it makes their pricing lower
Yeah.
if you walk across the street and you have to pay 3 cents on the dollar.
You ain't gonna look, you don't pull your phone out and look every time you go out to eat somewhere.
I don't, but I'm saying from an economic development standpoint,
I mean,
do they look
I
at that?
don't think so.
Yeah.
As businesses, they're gonna look at what's your population density and your access. Because they're making their margin on the volume that they're gonna sell. And the tax on it, I mean, if you're comparable or a little less, I don't think that would be a super driving factor in it. That's just my hunch on it.
well, and, you know, you could say some of the businesses that have recently gone to Benton, if that were the case, they would have come here. I mean, if you want to play devil's advocate, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying,
Sure, yeah.
you know, if that was a big consideration, then we'd already have gotten something out of that, but we haven't, that I know of, you know, and I haven't heard anybody make that argument.
No, I hadn't either, and that's why I asked the question. I just think it might be worth talking to a few people who
Mhm.
do
Yeah,
bring in retail analysis and say, is this something that
Mhm.
would help us or hurt us?
We could consult with the Saline County Economic Development Commission and ask them. But it doesn't appear to have hurt Benton at all.
No, I don't think so either, but I think that's a question that we should ask.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Instead of just assuming that because everybody around us has one,
Yeah.
it's gonna be good for Brian.
Right.
That was my question.
Yeah, no, I think
Nobody assumed that.
we're totally open for, you know, back and forth.
But
So-
you know, I deal with a bunch of these hotel owners, and they're shocked that we don't have an A&P tax. They want us to have an A&P commission, because it's gonna promote them. And when the park gets the boost that they need, they're gonna be hosting some tournaments we've never hosted before, some super regionals and stuff from ASA and stuff that people come in, and if you have this, then you can, our tournament's coming here, and it's gonna increase all that.
Because at Conway, they hand out a booklet.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying,
They hand out a booklet for restaurants and hotels in that booklet.
yeah, I collected a couple of them in the last few places I've been to, just, you know, like I said, I mean,
I've got a bunch of them. People bring them to me.
yeah, they bring them to me too. They're like, how do they run this?
So without the A&P tax, we can't have big tournaments. We can't have bigger things because we don't have the money. Is that?
Can I share kind of, I do have some information I think can help you guys as you think through this. And I really appreciate even being able to have this conversation. And I do empathize with a difficult decision. Like you're elected, you represent the people, the taxpayers in your ward. And so I'm here kind of representing obviously the department, but also all of our partners. And that the conversations I'm having with our partners, BSA, BAA, Boys and Girls Club, Senior Center, that's a lot of your taxpayers. And we totally understand taxes aren't popular, but like our position on this is that there's something that's more unpopular than taxes.
Well, you know, this is my question to that.
Presidential
is-
races?
Wait, let me go
I don't even
through
wanna
this.
say
Let me go
that.
through this. So
I shouldn't say that.
I've been Parks Director for 7 months. Obviously have a lot of conversations with a lot of people about our park system. And the narrative about Bryant Park System is a lot of promises that haven't been fulfilled, decline and neglect. And I think the U of A study pinpointed one of the fundamental flaws in our system in this paragraph, the lack of a well-funded capital budget in Bryant is beginning to take effect. Bishop and the Center are still somewhat new. However, these locations are starting to age and risk growing outdated without capital dollars to keep them current. I think that's just the reality that we've all seen over the last 8 years. The building, Bishop, the term I would use is a term I've experienced in my life, has made us house poor. That we've got this one park we're trying to keep maintained, and so everything else is in decline. And that's, as Parks Director, that's obviously personally challenging and frustrating for us. We want to do the best we can with what we're given. Growing up here, right, playing on these fields, you know, we kind of see the consequences of not having a well-funded capital budget. You can visit our other parks. And this is where Bishop is slowly heading. We're holding it off as much as we can. But this was the series that Bryant News did called Neglect. So we have a plan, if we have the resources, to reverse this trend. Okay, so we've identified currently what we have seen over the last 8 years, the lack of having a funded capital budget. We've identified immediate projects, not frivolous, over the top, immediate projects that need to start being taken care of in our parks. The cost of this neglect, as we sit today, the research we've done, the things we've looked at, is that we're looking at, and I got a handout of the details, the current things that we need to be getting taken care of yesterday in our parks. And you can look at these later, but that's the cost of not having any money to put into capital improvements or maintenance in our park system over the last 8 years. And if you got questions about that, and I think this next slide, again, from the U of A study, they said capital planning, right, can spread these expenses over a multi-year stretch and keep the department ahead of the curve with large budgeted items. Like, we can take this list and we can year by year take on these challenges and fix them. My opinion is that the A&P is good stewardship of our parks. We've got wonderful parks, and if we want to be good stewards of those parks, we've got to think through how do we make sure we're maintaining and revitalizing, making sure they continue to be good parks. I believe this is an opportunity. I'm not saying it doesn't have its challenges. I'm not saying it's an easy decision. But I would say that, you know, if you think about that first picture, I think this is the future with the right resources that we've got. We've got the people of Bryant voted to give us $4 million. They want good parks, right? The associations, we just have new use agreements with the BAA and BSA, and everybody's on the same page. Everybody sees that we've all got to adjust in order to make sure we're putting revenue back into our parks. So we've got a staff that's ready, that's poised to make this happen. So basically what we would, you know, I think what we want you to know as the decision makers is that if you give us this opportunity, you give us these resources, the people of Bryant will see immediate, visible results in this park system, and we will change over time this narrative. We'll be able to do things we've not been able to do in the past. And so I see it as a great opportunity for us as a city. I think Bryant will be what we're known for, a great park system, a great place to live, a great place to do business. Obviously, we are maybe the face of Bryant for a lot of people because they're on our parks. So I think I represent the Parks Department and our partners that we would say this is a good opportunity for us. This is a good opportunity for the city, and you won't be disappointed if you give us these resources.
This is the cost of everything that you're wanting to put out there. What's the cost of maintenance? Do you have a maintenance cost?
Well, yeah, we've cut everything we can.
Well, I know that. Paper towels and bathrooms.
I don't think our current budget, it reflects what a elite park system. But the research the three that we're compared to, Cabot, Benton, and Conway, $3 million a year. That's kind of number. If you want to,
How much you get from us?
we get the two, tax, about $1 million, and then our revenue is a 1.1, 1.2 million, and then we get some help from the general fund to be between 2.4 and 2.5. That's kind of what we're prepared, that's what we're prepared to do the best job possible. Like, we're gonna work hard and do everything we can to make it great on that. But it obviously is not, we're not able to run an elite park system or the park system we all want for that, on that budget.
So you're $500,000 short. And if we had 3% on the hotel, that's 157. 1% on the food would add another 360. That's 517. So that almost gets you what you need, just to maintain.
Well, in the parks study, they did compare us to Jacksonville, Silent Springs, and then two gold standard park systems on this capital budget. Silent Springs spends $500,000 a year, and they're much smaller than us, they're a much smaller park system than us. And that's what they spend, $500,000 a year on just capital improvements, making sure the parks don't decline.
Joy, does every department have to pay the admin, the SWB cost?
No. It wouldn't make any sense to do it on fire and police because they're already out of general fund anyway. Basically, they don't pay. Animal pays, parks pays, water, wastewater, and street.
How much is parks?
174,000 for tentatively budgeted for 2017. And I think that was the same for 2016. And I reworked that.
I was thinking 165, but 174.
I reworked that actually for this budget to bring to you guys, and parks stayed the same, but animals has gone up. So that was one of the things that I'm gonna be bringing to you guys on our meeting on the 18th is, you know, that calculation has been reviewed. And it changed, it went up for animal and I believe wastewater. And water went down, wastewater went up. So the overall.
But I mean, if we've got a department that's already struggling and that needs revenue, is there not any way we can
Well, but it won't make any difference because all that is
adjust that?
just, but that's not real money. All that is
I know,
just
I know.
moving it from one, so it wouldn't help anything. All that that would do is then general fund would fund them less because general fund would have less to fund them with. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but
In
we
terms of
wouldn't
cash?
have to do it that way. I mean,
No, I mean, it's not real money,
right, I know.
so it doesn't really,
It's a deduction.
yeah. I just take it out of one place and put it in the other on paper. No money actually really goes anywhere. So in terms of us having that money to do anything with, it doesn't really make sense. I know that.
Boy, you lost me.
Sounds like my budget.
All that is just supposed to reflect the work that like I do on his behalf. You know, I mean, not
It's
just
an
me,
allocation.
it's an allocation, but it doesn't, you know, it doesn't, I don't really get paid any more or any less if I do.
Okay.
You know, that's basically what I'm saying. It's not real.
It feels real whenever you're looking at it and they're in so much need of
No, I know,
that kind of money.
yeah,
That's
no.
what I'm saying.
No, I know, yeah, I mean,
And it would seem like, you know, if we could cut back in one area to, you know, we wouldn't have, but I understand.
We're talking about A&P stuff.
Mills?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know what we're talking
Oh,
about.
yeah. So we need to move the mills. If there's no further discussion on A&P, are y'all ready to move the conversation to mills? Okay.
When are we gonna get the information back that Chris is gonna research for the
How it's set up.
A&P?
How it's set up, like how it's set up.
And wasn't Joy going to give us
Hotels on.
Hotel, yeah.
When are we gonna, like next week at the next meeting, you just gonna hand that out to us so we can add it to this? Would that be okay?
Yep.
I will do my best. I
out tomorrow morning. I'm in court Thursday, Friday a meeting. Monday I'm in the office. I should be able to get you something hopefully by, if not council meeting, when's the next scheduled workshop?
It is the council meeting now.
Is it that night?
And then we have one on the 25th, so
Okay.
you could bring it to them on the 25th.
Definitely the 25th,
One
18th.
on 27 too.
And one on the 27th,
Yeah.
and water committee on the 28th.
I mean, could municipal league not give you a quick opinion? Let us know.
I've reached out to them, actually I reached out to them earlier today and I haven't heard anything back. I'm not gonna rely on them when they're gonna give me something, but I'll do what I can to have it by next Tuesday. I will have it by the 25th for sure.
So, okay. One other question about the AP before we switch. So that revenue, if whichever way we structure this, does that revenue begin immediately? Or does it have a lag?
That's my question.
Yeah, that is another
Okay.
question. Who would we ask that? I mean,
Maybe somebody that's done it?
well, but I mean, they'd have to, you know,
That'll be one of my,
okay,
I don't know.
okay, that's a Chris question.
I'll quit asking questions.
Depending on
no,
what
it's a
you-
great
That's
question.
It depends on which way you go. I mean, if the city council does it,
Yeah, if
You don't have to wait on the vote.
you don't have to.
Yeah, if you do a city council corrective, then it goes into effect however the time period is on it, but then you have to set the commission up, and the commission arguably has control over the fundings of it. So that'd be part of 3 years.
I just wanted to.
Just give everything 6 months. Give or take.
3 or 4 minutes.
Okay. Okay, so mills, about halfway through the handout, starting right here, where it gives the little definition of mills, is the start of the mills discussion. So, it just says 1 mill is the equivalent of $1 in taxes per $1,000 in taxable value. If your property has a taxable value of $100,000 and you're assessed a 1 mill tax rate, you'll owe $100 in taxes. And then, I kind of run through this rough calculation. I've attached the 2015 assessor's abstract and also the 2016 assessor's abstract, but I also attached from the county what we actually received in 2015, so that you can kind of see there's a little bit of differences there because, you know, obviously not everybody pays like they're supposed to pay, so there's some delinquencies and fluctuations. Anyway, then if you take the personal property, we're number 253 on the assessor's abstract. So if you follow from District 253 across the page over to the grand total for the valuation on the personal property, there's a number 65949,535. And if you take that times our mill rate of .0019, you get 125,304.12 for personal property. Similarly, on the real property, which is the next page over, if you follow 253 over, you get 248,629.30. And you do that times the .0019 equals 472 for the real property, which is a total of 597,683.87. If you divide that by the 19 mills that we have, it's roughly $31,000 a mill. So going up an additional mill, and this was the part where Chris said my handout was confusing. And it took me forever to figure this out too, so.
This is like algebra, I don't do this.
Yeah, when I say if you go up a mill, I just mean if you go from 1.9 to 2. So it's the smaller incremental, like you could also do, you could go from 1.9 to 2.1, and that would be going up 2 mills. So we have 1.9 mills, but that's really kind of like effectively 19 mills. So does that make sense? So if you go up from 1.9 mills to 2 mills, you'll have gained $31,000 on this calculation. If you go from 1.9 mills to 2.1, then you get $62,000.
Is that on personal or?
That's both. That is both.
So we're
And
only,
that's
if we
raising-
did a 2.1% adjustment, that only $63,000.
Yes,
If we went from 1.9 to 2.
on both real and personal. And where I think some of this, you know, it's confusing, like I said, is looking at it, you know, thinking the 1.9 to 2 is two mills, but it's really 20 mills. I don't know if that helps you guys.
So let me ask the dumbest question of all. Are we looking at raising our personal property tax and our real estate taxes? Is that what this is?
That's what that would do, yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
that's what
so
this
we're
is.
looking at an A and P tax, and we're also looking at raising personal and
Well,
real estate
I
tax.
Personal
don't
and
think
real
we're-
estate is your residence
well, and I don't
and
know
your
that,
commercial.
So
I mean,
we'll-
it's your
that,
people.
I don't know that you guys are actually thinking about doing any of these things, but you asked for a workshop for me to run the numbers on if you did it, because we have no.
Okay, I got you.
You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah,
it may
I was
not.
gonna say,
It's what, no, we
Yeah.
pass this every year, and it's usually just a pass through.
And we've already
Okay.
adopted
We
it
said,
for
let's look at what-
2017.
Yeah, y'all asked me back when we did it, when we went to
Okay.
budget, if I would bring these numbers to you.
Okay.
And,
Would
so,
We're housetop, so we can't generate that much. If we had a lot more commercial
I got you.
and
That
big,
wasn't smart
and big
stewardship.
industrial.
Can we tax
But I'm
apartments?
gonna
it would
ask.
help.
Can we tax apartments now?
But we're already set for 2017.
I got you.
Because we adopted
yeah,
that a couple months ago.
2017's done, so.
So if
This-
anything was done,
Yeah.
it would affect for 2018.
I got you.
I mean,
We have to
yeah.
return that over to the county assessor's office in
Yeah.
September.
Yes, in September. And we usually do it in July so that we have enough time cushion where if the meetings fall at a weird time, we've got backup. So we do it in July, but they don't get it until September, and we've already done it for this year. But, you know, it
Many
takes
cities are that
a
low.
long time. Well, that's what I was gonna say. Pull it over to this next sheet.
Nobody. Everybody's at 4.5, 5,
Yeah.
which is why we struggle with, was 1985, we passed this
Yeah,
at 1.9?
1984.
84, okay.
Yeah,
We passed it, and
Lean.
what, our population was what, 3,500?
yeah.
We didn't have a full-time police, and full-time fire department.
Hey, I did all this calculation
Yeah.
a few years back and everybody started throwing rotten tomatoes at me.
Yeah, but if you do, we keep raising sales taxes to try to cover our
Saying,
stuff.
So-
We could go millage, which would give us a solid base, and then we could lower sales taxes.
And one of the things we realize about millage, the difference between millage and A and P, is millage is general revenue that's controlled solely by council. So council has the authority to do it, council has the authority to allocate where it's getting spent, and how it's getting spent. It's general revenues for the city, is what we get from the county. They collect, you know, when you pay your property taxes
Right.
in March or October like I do, then when you pay it, county gets it, then they send the money to the different communities.
Right.
And as Butch was saying, it goes on every piece of, if you look at those spreadsheets, that number over there on the far right, that's the assessed value of all the personal property in Bryant, the assessed value of all the real property in Bryant. And that millage is that percentage, which is the tax that's collected. And so this would be one of those things that is across the board. And, you know, really it's what, $1 per $1,000 of value
Yes.
is what you're talking.
The other difference is that this comes out of people in Brown's pockets alone, not people.
That's true.
I mean, that's,
That's true.
and I'm not saying I'm totally against this, but that is a key difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and
So-
the other thing I think you look at is, assuming the population growth is going to be 20,000 people over the next 15 years, 2.5 people per household, that's 8,000 more rooftops. I know there could be other means of living besides rooftops.
My
but
apartment.
Assuming 8,000 rooftops, and does that money cover the growth that we're experiencing as well?
Well, it doesn't. I mean, we're living proof that it doesn't, because we've got fewer employees now than we had 10 years ago, with 10,000 more people. And the fire and it's just,
Just so you guys know, so this has got comparison numbers on it, this page that's in your handout, so you can look at those. These are the assessor's value abstracts that I said, and I have them from 2015 and 2016. And then there's also this chart, which also gives you comparable data for several years on different things. So just to let you know what's in your packet, so,
I think this is the millage that Benton
yes.
this year rolled back some.
yeah, they went back down.
They went back, they were at 5 or something and went back down to
Yeah.
4.5.
When I talked to the Saline County Assessor's Office, he talked to me a little bit about that, so yes, that is this one.
But that's because they're got so many new businesses, their sales
Right, that's
taxes
the
got just
reason we
overwhelmed.
did this calculation several years ago and
But we're struggling to I mean, every year we want to give people raises and increase the budgets and keep our good people that we've trained, and we can't. Because we're based all this on sales tax, and it keeps going up and down, and they're building new Krogers, and everybody's gone, your wife builds another shopping mall up the road up there, and everybody goes up there.
Sure what?
Bass Pro, yeah, she did.
I'm sitting on this side.
Can we get a discount?
I just asked.
But, you know what I'm saying?
But you look at the other cities, though,
You Ward 3, you're
no
always with a
one
discount.
is at 1.9, but I mean, statewide, I would almost say we're probably the lowest even statewide. I mean, I knew we were countywide, but I mean, statewide, they put that in the city and town.
That's right.
And I think we're the lowest in the state.
I think you're right. But one of the 2 or 3 lowest in the state.
I just don't want to see us keep losing.
No, I understand.
Right.
I mean, we lose firemen, we lost parks, we lose our police officers. We may lose our mayor.
Where you going?
Yeah, but I don't know.
Let's keep spreading this rumor and I'm telling you.
I gotta run it for all kind of state offices.
Here, you can make this official now. I'm running in 2018 for this seat.
For what you running for?
For this seat.
Oh, this seat, okay.
The seat I have now.
You heard it here first.
Heard it here first.
Yeah.
Breaking news.
It'll be the saddest thing I've heard all night.
Hashtag.
She didn't even have to
rent that room at Bishop like that.
She got out of renting that room.
That's right.
She didn't have to give a 7-day notice.
10 days. Oh, see, I broke policy.
7 days cost you extra money.
7 days, you get that emergency fee.
$50, $50.
I'm saving money.
That's funny.
Just needed the press here, that's all.
So, well, anyway, we got 10 minutes till we wrap up, or we can let out early. But that's all I've got for you guys for tonight in terms of just the numbers, if you wanted, you know.
So with this, could you run this at some different millage rates? Because I know this calculation was easy for you.
No, it really wasn't. It took
I just-
forever to get the
I'm
information.
joking, I know, but if we could see at different levels comparable to our neighbors at least,
Okay.
3 and 4.
Mhm.
or whichever, just to see.
You know
just to
3, you know
gauge it.
4, you can do 3.5.
Then if we took that, compared it with projected growth, we could see a real revenue stream from it. Instead of just a guess.
You itemize your taxes. Now, see, that's a property tax, you can itemize that, that's a tax deduction you take, you can't do your sales tax. You lose
Deduct the
that.
property tax, city itemized.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Well, I'm not saying I'm against it, I just want to see what the.
Oh, no, I'm just saying, that's just something else you bring to look at, positive thing. Get a little bit more.
I'm not sure that will come into the equation.
No,
I
I
pay more to local, so I have to pay less to federal. I'm good with that.
Me too.
If you donate to the charities around town, you get less, you get the money.
Itemize.
Why don't you tell me that?
I thought you lost $956 million, so you didn't have to.
Yeah, then you don't have to pay forever.
And the freeze,
I support the federal government.
a lot of people
That
have
makes
to
you smart,
freeze
right?
because of
I do love
age.
it.
But when you affect the mills and raise the mills, that negates the freeze. You still have the same value, but you tack on the additional millage rate. You understand what I'm saying?
You know, you can itemize your.
One last thing too, just like on the sales tax also included, you can get extra information at the Arkansas Assessment Coordination Department's webpage on mills. So it's pretty interesting stuff.
You want us to remember that?
If you guys are bored, you know, or you just want to learn a lot more about mills, I'm just throwing that out there.
Joy, that's where I worked for 18 years, just so you know.
All right. It's a good website. It's got lots of good information.
Hey, Sarah, I think that was for you.
Was it?
Yeah. You don't have to call me tomorrow and go, okay, what's this bill?
So, all right, well, if there's nothing else, anything else, or can I adjourn?
That might be tax deductible too, you know.
Meeting adjourned.